Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Becky and this is brea.makes.art, and today is a very special episode. Today I'm going to be celebrating reaching 500 subscribers on my channel. Woo! And in order to celebrate, I have made myself a YouTube play button out of MDF and cut it out on my laser cutter. And today we are going to be decorating this play button in order to celebrate this milestone. Hey there, it is the next day and it is time to decorate the front of this guy. Okay, I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to color it yet, but I think I have the design down. So my phoenix is going to be over here, and then the tail is going to kind of come here, and then it's going to become feathers. So these are going to be a bunch of individual feathers that have kind of come off from the tail. And then there's going to be this one feather up here. So this, rather than being fire or really long tail feathers, are going to be a bunch of different feathers that are kind of falling off and kind of flowing around like this. This is the basic design that I'm going to go with, and it's going to kind of circle around here, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. And now I just need to figure out how to get it transferred from here onto here. There's a couple different ways I can do it. I don't know that I have any transfer paper, but I definitely know I can just kind of scribble on the back here and get it transferred. Or I can just kind of try and freehand it onto here, because that's what I've been doing in order to take the design from one piece to another. So I kind of know how to draw it already. But this is the general idea. Kind of the feathers are getting less and less, and then one last one up here. I think it's going to look pretty cool. So wish me luck. Barely transferred on there. But I think from there I can just start painting, I guess. And then I can come back in and figure out, actually before I start painting, I'm going to solidify these lines a little bit here. As my subscriber count got closer and closer to 500, I started brainstorming what I wanted to do to celebrate reaching 500 subs. And I know that 500 subs is not like a huge accomplishment, but it was for me because it took me a couple of years to get here, because doing all of this stuff in front of people, sharing my art with people, that sort of thing, was kind of scary and wasn't really natural for me. So I really wanted to do something to celebrate this success. And I'm a believer in celebrating your successes, no matter how big or small, because taking the time to recognize and celebrate a success gives you fuel to continue doing the thing that got you the success in the first place. It fills your cup, as it were. So as I debated what I wanted to do to celebrate, I went through a whole bunch of different things. What kind of art would I want to make, that sort of thing. And then the idea of making myself a little award popped into my head, and I love the idea, and I decided that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then I had to figure out, what in the world am I going to do to decorate it? I tried out a whole bunch of different thumbnails in my sketchbook, trying to figure out what I wanted to put on here, because like I said, I don't have a go-to thing that I like to draw. So there were lots of different things that I could have put on here, and lots of designs that I actually really liked. But when I started thinking about it, I wanted it to be something that kind of felt like me, something that I would like to look at more than just some kind of cute little decoration, that sort of thing. And as I continued to think about it, I thought, you know what word kind of embodies what do I want to kind of think of when I look at this? And I wanted to look at this and remember how much that I kind of persevered in this journey, that there were times that I thought about just stopping doing this altogether, and if I had stopped, I wouldn't have achieved this goal. And honestly, that kind of idea of perseverance is the idea behind the tattoo that I have on my right arm that you can sometimes see in the videos. That means Pil Sung, which means never give up. And that's one of the mantras that we have in martial arts, that you just got to keep going, keep trying, keep getting up even after a failure. And if you keep doing that, you will reach your goal. So given that idea of perseverance and the thought that I wanted it to be something that I would like to look at that's kind of meaningful to me, I really like fantasy and I like fantasy art. And so doing some quick Google searches, the phoenix came up as a symbol of perseverance, of rebirth, of growth, that sort of thing. And all of those things kind of really kind of spoke to me, and I thought that it would be perfect to put on here. As well as the phoenix is kind of a challenge for me. I've tried drawing one in the past a couple of different times, and I've never really liked how it's turned out. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge for me to put it on here and make it something that I liked the look of. So the first thing I did was I opened up my browser and went to Pinterest and just looked for drawings of phoenixes to try and get an idea of what I wanted it to look like. And one of the big challenges was getting it so that it kind of wrapped around the award here. So I couldn't just take a design that somebody else had and use that. I had to make modifications to make it work for this piece, which really kind of pushed me in ways that I don't normally push myself as much as I probably should. And so there were no two ways about it. This had to be kind of my own design so that it would fit on this particular award. There wasn't another something that I could just use and kind of borrow from whole hog and just put it onto a thing of my own. So I looked at a whole bunch of different phoenixes and pulled different bits from different ones that I saw to kind of put together my own design that I think works really well on here. And I am honestly really proud of myself for having done that, because it's not something that I practice a lot. So I feel like I kind of unlocked something in doing this. I think it's more of a confidence thing. I have built up a lot of confidence in my ability to do artwork, and that allowed me to be able to take little bits and pieces from different drawings, different designs that I saw, and put it together in a way that worked really well for this piece. And I don't think that I could have done this sort of thing even a year ago. So I am really proud of how far I have come, and this award is going to symbolize how far I have come, not only in this channel, but also just kind of in my art journey. And I left the design of the phoenix simple on purpose. I didn't want to be doing kind of a really realistic painting of a phoenix on here, because I didn't want the phoenix to be the focal point of this award. I wanted it to enhance the award, to kind of add some kind of personalized touch, and to make the award just look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Because as I said earlier, this is actually just on some MDF, which is basically a particle board, and it's not really the most aesthetically pleasing all on its own. So I needed to have something to add some decoration, add some interest to the award. And like I said earlier, I wanted it to be something that meant something to me and kind of, symbolized the effort that I have put into this channel. And so the phoenix was a perfect thing to put on there. And by keeping it simple, it makes the whole award just kind of feel more cohesive, and no one part is really kind of shouting above any other part. And this is the part that I didn't really have figured out very well. You can see I have my kind of layout of what I wanted it to look like above here, but you can see that the tail feathers are looking pretty rough there. So I was kind of trying to figure out on the fly how I wanted them to look. I had an idea in my head, and I decided to just go right onto MDF and just draw on there. And as you can see, erasing on this MDF doesn't work real well. It definitely left a lot of kind of gray on there, which I was a little bit worried about. Thankfully, the markers kind of covered all of that up so you don't even notice it. But if you're going to be working on MDF, I would highly recommend having your design figured out ahead of time and then transfer it on. Try not to erase, because like you saw, it doesn't really erase all that well. So we're getting into the part of the design that I was least confident about and least happy about in my original sketch. You can see the tail feathers up there in the kind of original idea. They're looking pretty rough. I didn't like how they looked at all, and so I had to kind of just go for it here and try and figure out what I wanted to look like on the fly. And so I just kind of went in and started drawing right on the MDF, which was maybe not the best idea because you saw me erasing there and it didn't erase as well as I would have liked. Thankfully, the markers cover all of that up and you don't see any of that kind of gray that was left over from where I was trying to erase what I had there. But I wouldn't recommend it if you're going to be working on MDF. I was honestly really happy with how all of the materials worked here. I did try out the acrylic markers on a little scrap piece of the wood before I did it on here, just to make sure it was all going to work out well, and happily it all worked well. I didn't try my pen on that scrap piece of paper, but the pen worked beautifully as well. This is one of the Kiritake Fudenosuke pens that have like kind of that flexible tip. I really like working with this pen, and it worked really well on here as well. As far as the design of the actual award itself, I was able to find some stuff that gave the actual measurements of the kind of outer dimensions of the play button, but I didn't find anything that showed how far down the play button was on the award, how big it was, where to put the words, or anything like that. So I just went and looked at a couple of different images of other people's play buttons and just laid it out just kind of visually where I thought it looked right and just went with that. I like how everything is laid out. I think that it looks really nice and balanced. And then as far as coloring in the button in the middle red, that was just kind of spur of the moment decision. As I was working on it, I decided, you know what, I think putting a little bit of red here would be really nice because it kind of pulls the red across. As I say later, I'm a little bit on the fence with whether or not I like it. I do think overall I like it more than I dislike it, but I think it would have looked really good without it colored in as well. So I did forget to press record on a couple of little pieces of this. I do go back in and add some yellow in a couple of different places on the red to kind of give a little bit of highlight here and there and give some more oranges. I don't happen to have any orange Artix acrylic markers, so I have to kind of lay the yellow on top of the red. But overall, you don't miss a whole lot. You do unfortunately miss all of the feathers. I thought I had hit record, and then I found out when I went to stop it that I hadn't hit record, and I was kind of kicking myself for it. But it's all just the same stuff. It's me drawing on there and coloring in and drawing and coloring, so you don't really miss a whole lot. This is the final result. I am so happy with it. I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, I have finished it. I am so happy with how it turned out. This is the final result. I love the phoenix. I love the feathers kind of coming up around here. I decided to paint the play button red just to kind of bring the red across. I'm kind of on the fence about whether I like it or not, but it's done now, so it is what it is. So this is the final result. I love it, love it, love it. I think it's going to look really cool on my wall, and I added just a little bit of yellows in a few places here and there just to kind of give it a little bit more interest, especially on the feathers. And I added some lines inside of the phoenix itself. So I added an eyeball and a little bit of a hint at the wings here, and then definitely some more lines to define the feathers there. So that is that. I am so happy. Thank you so much for giving me your time, for subscribing, all the things. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Okay, since I've already made a mess, I just want to see what it looks like if I shoot this confetti cannon at the camera. So here we go. I don't know if that looked cool.